You're listening to The Content of Character, a podcast on the ethical sayings of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, with Shaykh Yahya Rhodus of Al-Maqasid. This podcast is powered by Seekers Hub Global. Visit seekershub.org for online courses, our Q&A service with reliable scholars, and engaging media.
Bismillah wa salatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Welcome to episode 68 of the Content of Character podcast. Today we will be discussing repeating what we hear. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, كَفَى بِالْمَرْءِ إِثْمًا أَنْ يُحَدِّثَ بِكُلِّ مَا سَمِعَ. It is sufficient for a man to be considered to have sinned if he simply repeats everything he hears. In another narration, بِحَسْبِ الْمَرْءِ مِنَ الْكَذِبَ أَنْ يُحَدِّثَ بِكُلِّ مَا سَمِعَ. It is sufficient for a man to be considered to have lied if he simply repeats everything he hears. And the way that this hadith was understood by the scholars is that if he doesn't ascertain what is truth and what is falsehood, what is not true. And what this hadith is indicating to us is the importance of verifying and ascertaining what it is that we hear from people, especially if it relates to other people. Because customarily when we hear people speak, especially about other people, there will be truth mixed with falsehood in what it is that they're saying. So if we simply repeat to other people everything that it is that we hear, inevitably that mix truth with falsehood. And the meaning of that kadhib, of a lie, is to say something that does not correspond with reality. Now, in order for it to be considered to be a sin, is that we have to do this intentionally. So what our Prophet is telling us, that if we do not ascertain things that are said about other people and we simply repeat all of these things, that this is going to be sinful. This is going to be considered to be a lie. And so this is a warning that is teaching us how to have that maturity, that intellectual maturity, religious and spiritual maturity, so that we can learn to decipher what is true and what is not true. We can learn to check our facts and to ascertain, especially when it relates to other people. And undoubtedly this is a part of taqwa, because the sacred law of the Prophet has come to preserve people's honor. And this is a social responsibility upon the shoulders of the ummah, is that they make sure to preserve the Muslim ummahs and the individuals in it, that their honor. And that there is a chapter heading in the Adhkar, the remembrances of Imam An-Nawawi, that says, Babul Hathi ala Tathabbut. This is the chapter on encouraging people to ascertain. Ascertain what? فيما يحكيه الإنسان. To ascertain the truth of what people say. وَالنَّهِي عَنِ التَّحْدِيثِ بِكُلِّ مَا سَمِعَ. And the prohibition of speaking about everything that it is that we hear, إِذَا لَمْ يَظُنْ صِحَّتُهُ. If someone does not have a high degree of probability and think that it is not accurate. And he begins this chapter with the verse in the Quran in Surah Al-Isra, وَلَا تَقْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ إِنَّ السَّمْعَ وَالْبَصَرَ وَالْفُؤَادَ كُلُّ أُولَٰئِكَ كَانَ عَنْهُ مَسْئُولًا. And do not pursue that of which you have no knowledge. Indeed, the hearing and the sight and the heart, of each of these it will be asked. And so we should not pursue about the things that we have no knowledge of. And we should know is that we are mas'ul. We are going to be asked about what it is that we see, what it is that we say, what it is that we hear, and we will be responsible for what is in our heart. All of these things that we will be asked about on Yawm al-Qiyamah. And so that this is indicating to us is that knowledge is a prerequisite for anything that it is that we do. And among those things are when we speak about other people. We need to ascertain and to verify that what is actually happened is actually the case, and this is actually what took place. And if you really think about this, that this is teaching us that a little bit about human frailty in terms of their conveying news to other people. And we know that people will sometimes embellish things that they heard. Sometimes they won't remember and accidentally that miss critical nuances to the particular story. Sometimes their perspective will be skewed because of human frailty. Sometimes it's not even intended to skew the story or to paint it in a particular way. But we should know, and this is a part of this maturity that our Prophet is calling us to, is that's to be expected when it comes from human beings. So we need to hear two sides of the story. We need to look at the big picture, and we need to get to the bottom of what it is that actually really happened. And this is in general, but especially if we are going to speak about it, or we're going to publicize something that we heard. And that we should also keep in mind, and this is another verse that Imam An-Nawawi includes in this chapter of his, the words of Allah Ta'ala, مَا يَلْفِظُ مِنْ قَوْلٍ إِلَّا لَدَيْهِ رَقِيبٌ عَتِيدٌ. He does not utter a word, but that there is beside him a watcher who is ready. This is a description of both of the angels, the one on the right shoulder, who is ready to write our good deeds, and the one who is on our left shoulder, who is ready to write our bad deeds. And that of all of the limbs, the hardest limb to control is the tongue. But if we can learn to control it, is that Allah Ta'ala will facilitate for us the ability to control our other limbs. So in this blessed hadith of our Prophet ﷺ, كَفَى بِالْمَرْءِ إِثْمًا أَنْ يُحَدِّثَ بِكُلِّ مَا سِمِعَ. It is sufficient for a man to be considered to have sinned if he simply repeats everything he hears. Our Prophet is encouraging us to ascertain the truth, and we want to accustom our tongue to only saying good and only hearing good. As our Prophet reminded us, that whoever believes in Allah in the last day, then let him say good or remain silent. We should be people that protect the honor of the believers and only say what is most pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah tabarak wa ta'ala give us tawfiq, bless us to protect our hearing, protect our seeing, our eyes and our ears and our hearts, and to that only have entered into our heart that which is pleasing to Allah Ta'ala, and only emanate from our limbs that which is pleasing to Allah Ta'ala. And may Allah give us tawfiq in all of our different affairs. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.